Diego was on the project first, and he was all over my lookbook, which is a little bit embarrassing. Did I ever tell you that?
No.
So I have this lookbook that we use for investors. You're in my lookbook too.
Oh.
I don't know if anybody knew that. It's very revealing.
Little money.
Exactly. My husband and I survived a pretty bad car crash about 6 years ago, and sort of coming out of that experience, we're fine, thank God, but it really shifted my perspective. You know, it sort of woke me to the value of the delicate, messy little lives we were living, and Wander Darkly was sort of born out of that feeling and wanting to share that feeling. I really had imagined Diego in this role very early on, and is such a fan of Sienna's, and very much felt like I needed two artists to come to this movie who were brave in their work and willing to take chances and thoughtful, and I mean, I got that in spades.
I read it, and something about the notion of a relationship that is not doing very well and the ability to go back and dissect it from its inception. Something about that, looking back, really resonated. And it felt like real gymnastics in terms of a performance. It felt like there was an awful lot to do and a lot of different tones to strike, and I think I'm always drawn to a challenge, and then this assembly of very talented people made it a no-brainer.
It was the script for me. You know, I read it in Mexico, and I was seeing the film as I was reading it. I thought of it as a very intelligent way to approach and to how these modern relations kind of work these days, and how difficult this is to stay objective in a relation. Yeah, it's a very smart comment in the way we are thrown into relations these days, where we want everything to happen and we don't have the time to analyze what everything means, you know, and the script does that.
We spent a couple of weeks really going through the script and really talking about the beats and the moments, and that was huge. And we spent a lot of time really talking about our own experiences, so that by the time that we started shooting, I feel like it was very personal.
It felt like movies like in the old days, you know, when you had to be careful because there was film and you just could have 3 takes or 4 takes, so you needed to know what you were gonna do. That was the feeling here because we had very little weeks to shoot, you know. So we had to nail it in seconds, you know. We had to know exactly what the moment meant. And the script is quite difficult. So we worked almost like a theater play, you know, where we sat down in a table just to figure out what the script was actually saying.
The conversations that they each brought to the table at even at the rehearsal process were so profound and deepened the experience for me in terms of what we were able to accomplish. Every day was like an incredible surprise of watching you guys bring these things to life in your own unique way.
Also, there are moments in the film often where we break from the scene that is actually happening into the people who are analyzing themselves in that moment, and that kind of switching is incredibly difficult and complex. And it required us to really trust you, because it feels jinky and weird and in moments, and you totally managed to get that right.
There's, I think, in the past few years, sort of an awakening in me that probably happened around the same time as the car accident, where I recognized that the voices that I was hearing in the world were missing my voice. Like, I didn't hear a lot of women and mothers saying anything about the value of life, anything about, you know, equality in this way. So the poetry of this movie, I think, is a very basic tenet about finding gratitude and grace in our most difficult moments, which is not overtly political the way that some of my other stuff is, but it's it's why we're talking about all of these things, about equal rights and about should a woman have a movie at the Oscars. It's because this thing that we get is so fragile and delicate, this little messy life we get, everybody has a right to have value in that. I think there were so many wonderful films directed by and helmed by women this year. I don't think women have had the opportunity yet to get the money or the time that male directors have gotten. You look at something like The Irishman, I think that budget was enormous and they had a huge amount of time to shoot it. And I don't know that any other woman this year got that kind of time and that kind of money. So I have high hopes that as this stage changes for us and as our more opportunities are afforded to women directors, I think it's inevitable that it will improve, and I hope it does improve.
The fact that more women are making films, Tara is the second female director I've ever worked with. that's astounding in itself in a rather long career at this point. And the lack of diversity, I also agree, it's not good enough. But I feel like talking about it, having those conversations, looking at how successful movies that are diverse are becoming and doing, you know, if you look at, I don't know, Parasite, one of the greatest films ever, but that's a foreign film. I think people are becoming more open
to new voices, yeah.
To new voices, yeah. And it's just, we're just not there yet.